Hello and welcome to the Mindful Man Project. This is where we discuss all the issues and pieces of the puzzle that is mental health. We look at the things in life that get people down or create anxiety in their life and hopefully give some guidance on how to become a modern mindful man or woman. I am your host, Tyson Venables. On today's episode, we have Dan Tucker. Dan is also known as the spiritual tradie. So we're going to dive into today what this means for him being a man working on a job site and being a little bit more spiritually minded to do with his meditation, his yoga practice, and how he's implementing that into his day-to-day life and then also influencing those men around him. Dan is a wealth of knowledge on spirituality, so we'll probably take a few different tangents and we're looking forward to what is to come. Good morning, tradie.
Tyson Van.
How are you?
Good, mate. How are you?
Good. You're in
What's going on over there?
in the Daintree rainforest up there.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, just kicking back,
How good. I'm just
Yeah.
brick wall. I'm with white brick wall hanging today.
Yeah.
How's things?
Good, man. Just woke up, did a long meditation, and yeah, ready to roll.
What's a long meditation for you?
A long meditation this morning was an hour and a half.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So like the first 50 minutes was meditation, and the last 40 minutes was probably sleep.
Yeah, right.
Lean back and, have a little nap.
Nice.
So yeah,
Do you
probably
do any asana or anything before that meditation, or do you just go straight into it?
sometimes I do, yeah, but not this morning, no.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
And where did you learn that technique?
What technique?
Is it a technique, or are you just kind of free flowing?
Yeah, kind of free flowing, yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah.
So, what's been happening up there? How are you handling the old lockdown situation?
The COVID situation. Yeah, mate. Obviously, I'm pretty lucky myself. Don't have a lot of responsibilities. I don't have kids and family to be looking after, which would obviously make it a lot tougher, for people that have families to support. And yeah, I found myself in a great spot up here near Byron, and so just making the most of an opportunity to take rest and teach meditation online, which has been also good to connect with people that need to learn to meditate this time.
Yeah, that's great. It's like, especially at the moment, it's like one of those things. It's like the meditation is definitely going to be able to help people take themselves out of that stress, fight or flight state of mind and bring themselves back. Are you finding that the uptake at this time is kind of a little bit more than what it normally would be?
It's actually a little bit harder to get people across the line because obviously money's a bit tight and people are unsure about what's going to happen, and so probably a little bit more reserved. But there's a couple of people here and there that have reached out and looking to do something different because they realize that this time requires a change and they're ready to make that commitment to doing something different.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that at the moment there's a lot of people who've kind of realizing that there's a time that now that kind of initial trauma of what is happening, like it was a traumatic experience for a lot of people who lost like their jobs, their home, like everything, and they're now sitting and they're beginning to process and looking for those alternate options to then try and help them find a more clear mindset that they can continue to navigate what is going on. I feel like we're down here, we're feeling it a little bit more as well, where like there's more people kind of coming to yoga and meditation to find a little bit more quiet inside their mind, or trying to help themselves, which is great because like we all need it at the moment. So
yeah, man, it's a weird thing as well because we kind of before this, you take for granted that what we do, like the things we do, we get up and we go to work and we fulfill our roles in the kind of the way society is set up for us. Can you hear me there? Or are you dropping out?
I can hear you. You just kind of keep
Yeah.
going, like yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
your video stuff.
So so it's kind of a strange thing where you can say to people, you know, we're very conditioned to fit into society's molds, and we go about living our life according to what society says. And if you try to question what we're doing, like, why are we doing what we do? What are we building with this economy? What are we building with the way that we're constantly upgrading our technology? And any questioning what we're doing often gets a response of, don't be a weirdo, don't question the status quo. Don't reflect upon what we're actually doing here. Is it important what we're doing or not? And this time, having the whole system stop and shut down is really a great time for people to really reflect on what it is we're doing with our time, and what it is as a collective we're trying to build. Are we trying to build just a machine, an economic machine that's just powering ahead, chewing up the world's resources and environmental resources for our own selfish needs? Or do we actually want to uh, step back from that behavior and cultivate our own happiness and our own kind of community and our own sense of belonging, as opposed to putting that first? And so I really think it's just bringing back into focus uh, the machine that got out of control, and the balance that we need to bring into our life. And that might not be this might not be the event that brings it back into balance. That might be this is the first step that brings some people into their awareness, like, what are we doing? And then the majority of the collective is going to go back into the old patterns and the old behaviors and trudge in that direction again until they get the message that it's actually not sustainable and we need to make some big changes.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I think there's like, like you pointed out, there's been a time. I think it's one of those things where I was thinking the other day where there's these issues that kind of arise occasionally, and then we kind of like people will kind of jump on that bandwagon and say, oh, this is not right, or like this is not right, and then the day-to-day life carries on and that kind of gets forgotten about. But at the moment we're at home or wherever we're at, and if you're still working, you've still got quite a lot of time to contemplate what everything else is that's happening right now. And it's that time to actually realize, I feel like, cool, okay, these are these issues that have like continued to kind of just boil up for me, or not boil up, but just kind of just bubbling underneath the surface. And I'm feeling this like disease, but dis-ease with all this stuff that's going on. Is like, now do I have this choice to step into like the unknown and press forward and actually speak into those values that are kind of just like underneath the surface? Or yeah, like you said, carry on the way you're trudging on, and until something like this kind of happens again. And I think that's where you, like, yeah, how you said, those people coming to you are wanting that little bit more extra, about that clarity of mind to help them through.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
Yeah, and it's easy as well, while the external is so busy and we're so caught up in our need to pay bills and to meet the external demands. It's if we've loaded ourselves up with a lot of things to do, and a lot of responsibility, then it's easy to neglect what's going on inside. It's easier to just keep pushing on. Like I was saying the other day to someone else, especially for men, we put ourselves second, and the responsibility or the demand to support the family, or to get things done ahead of ourselves, ahead of our own needs. And so having all those needs kind of pulled back and then just brought to a stop, we're able to more clearly assess what we need, and have that time to start to go, well, maybe there's something in self-reflection, there's something in meditation, there's something in yoga for me. And from my perspective, it's beginning to get an understanding of our responsibility to each other and to the world, and our potential. And that's the most exciting thing for me, is that most people feel they have a lot of potential, but don't spend much time inquiring about what their potential is and how to access it and how to enliven it. And so, um, meditations have been a great way for me to tap into that and to really understand what potential is and how to enliven it. And yeah, it's kind of, it's tough because at the same time as people are getting sick and there's tragedy involved, it's also exciting that a lot of people get to stop from that momentum of life and get to experience questioning, self-inquiry. What's my potential? Is what I'm doing the best use of my time? And if it's not, now can I start to cultivate my own sort of self-inquiry, and find out what my potential is and how to unfold that, which is exciting.
It is really exciting, and I think like it's one of those things that sometimes people think just happens overnight, and thinks and or want the result straight away,
Hmm.
and it's not. And sometimes when that self inquiry brings up the hard stuff or the stuff that's not so um, attractive, that's when those people kind of step away. I feel you like,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a cliche to say, it's the journey, it's about the journey and not about the destination, but it's so true. But the thing is, when we start to self-reflect and we start to look inwards, we might find that it's confronting that the things we're doing aren't delivering us the happiness that we thought they would. And that's one of the biggest challenges, is that we can be confronted with the realization that we had an expectation that our actions were going to yield us with happiness that didn't come. And so, having to sit with the uncomfortability of being confronted with, what I was doing actually wasn't working. And so just unwinding that big knot of ideas of what we thought was going to be, bring us happiness, and work out where happiness actually is, which is within, and how do I bring that out? And it can be a confronting time for people, and but it's a necessary thing to go through, because otherwise we're going to always live in this delusion that happiness is outside of ourselves, and that we can achieve it by gaining things or achievements or status.
mm, yeah, I agree. Um, and yeah, it's a thing that like I know myself when I first started on my own journey, like just even meditating and sitting with thoughts was really quite confronting. And I'm sure you've probably been like, what drew you personally to start your practice, and whatever that practice was, what was it, and like what were those initial things that eventually came up for you, or initially coming up for you, that could potentially be coming up for someone else, that you could share a little bit of light and wisdom and show that it does happen to even people who have been doing it quite a while.
Yeah, so originally when I started, I was trying to find the place where ideas were. I was having a lot of creative ideas in my dreams, and I just figured that if I can access that place in my sleep, I should be able to access it with my eyes open. And so naturally, I started looking up like, astral travel and lucid dreaming, and I was interested in these kinds of explorations. And what I ended up doing was finding meditation, which then, when I started practicing the meditation, I got a real clear indication of how stressed and tired I was,
Yep.
because I was able to have the experience of experiencing myself without the stress in the meditation. I was going to a place that I was just free of the heaviness from my body. And then when I came back into my body and I was going about normal life, I just felt like, this is wrong. This isn't, life isn't meant to be like this. There's just, and because I've had that experience of stresslessness, and I come back into the body, I'm like, something has to change. This isn't sustainable. So, like you said, going through the process of being in meditation and having thoughts there and being agitated by it, thinking, and just allowing yourself to come back and sit through it. And what I found was that there'd be this impulse in my body to get up or to move, and if you just sit very, very still and allow that impulse to sort of, you go past it and you drop in deeper than that impulse, and what's there is a nice juicy calmness. and so often we're ruled by that stress in our life, that impulse to to move and to get away from our experience. And if you just stay with it, what you find is that you drop past that agitation into something a lot nicer. And so that experience is constantly unfolding for me in meditation. I've been meditating for 6 years, and some meditations will be nice, and other ones will be agitated. But we're always moving through these deeper layers of stress and fatigue that are held in the body, and our conditioning that we've accumulated for our entire life. And so, we spent a whole life collecting shit, and so it's going to take some time to release and to process. And it's all part of, like I said, the journey and uncovering the potential that's already there. And yeah, highly recommend doing it to anybody.
It's a great practice. And have you been Vedic meditating like the entire 6 years, or you learned another technique before you became Vedic, or before you learned the Vedic ways?
Yeah, I originally started with One Giant Mind as well,
Mm-hmm.
back before there was a teacher training academy. So I learned off the app, and it was great. It gave me a kind of a technique to get going, but the thing that it lacked, as we know, was guidance. Just having a powerful technique and not knowing how to use it or when to use it, and all these kinds of things. And having support, especially having a bit of community support, I felt quite isolated in my experience. I was going through a lot of inner change, and I couldn't reconcile it so like with my outer experience. And so it was quite tumultuous at the beginning, because I didn't have anyone to be like, yeah, it's all right, or guide me through these different pitfalls. So then I learned Vedic meditation about 6 months to a year later,
Yeah, right.
and that kind of set me up to understand what was going on.
So good. That sounds great. That's a good journey. And so
Yeah.
in that time, you've been your Instagram handle says you're the spiritual tradie. So you are a tradie. Um, Through this time, you've been meditating and gone on your own journey. And how's the boys on the job site kind of like either come with you or seen that change in you and either like had a bit of pushback from it, or yeah, like what have you like experienced through that journey, like especially being a tradie?
The whole range of experience, mate. I've had some pushback. Some guys will be quite hurt by the fact that they're seeing a concrete and meditate, and they start call you a little bitch or whatever. But you can see that that's their own crap. And then there's other guys that are there interested. They want to know more about what's going on, why you do it, what you're experiencing. And then there's some guys that are on the job site that have explored psychedelics, and they know what it's all about. So they're asking about meditation, or they're sharing stories about their own experience. So there's the whole range of uh, of experiences from the boys on site. And so um, yeah, I do try to not push it onto people, because people tend to push back if you try to
Yeah, I'm a
make people
preacher.
meditate. Yeah, become a preacher. So uh, yeah, it's been interesting, and it's been interesting from the perspective of having to hold my ground. Like Friday afternoon comes and the beers come out, and I don't feel like drinking, so I won't. And then there's pressure to do that, and just to be like, no, it's all right. Um, I'm happy just to enjoy a water. you know.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like I've had that kind of that same experience coming from the trades, and
Hmm.
um, yeah, you get to that point where it's okay, cool. Like I don't need this outside. I don't need the external kind of like as much as like I still enjoy the occasional beer, but it's like I don't need to do that every Friday or every day.
Yeah.
And I'd much prefer to go home and do something or enjoy the company of my other like without having that. And I'm not saying who does drink beer and has a few drinks after work they're a bad person, but it's like you once you start to kind of see the benefits of like a non-external force that's suppressing or allowing you to move away from whatever else is happening around you. Like obviously, if you're doing the work inward, that like you said, the internal the happiness is inside. So you don't need that external stuff to fill you up. Like you're filling yourself
Yeah.
up from the inside out.
And it kind of takes away from it sometimes, so like you feel like you could have a beer, but that the kind of presence that you're working to cultivate with the yoga and meditation uh, is kind of diminished. And so, especially for me, I feel like I've invested so much time and energy into cultivating this inner sort of happiness when I have something, whether it's unhealthy food or alcohol or whatever. I just feel like it takes away from that experience that I'm already having, and so I don't do it. you know.
Yeah, well, you've only got to follow you on Instagram to see how much like fun and stuff you have quite naturally. Like yesterday's stories about you on the ABBA. What was it? The ABBA Younger.
ABBA Younger, yeah, yeah,
You look 10 years younger right now.
yeah. It's pretty crazy. Yeah, I've been doing it for the last week, so it's like made my skin so like ridiculous.
Yeah, you got that. Yeah,
Yeah.
for anybody who's at home who's not watching the video option of this, like Dan just looks like his skin is just amazing. It's like a 6 boy right now. Um, and yeah, for anybody else at home who's watching that, not watching, it's the ABBA Younger is an Ayurvedic kind of skin treatment. Is that what it is, Dan?
It's an oil massage, self massage.
Nice.
And so it generally it might be medicated oil where they put herbs into like coconut oil or sesame oil, and you just massage from the top of your head all the way down, covering the entire body with oil, and you let it sink in for about 30-40 minutes, and then have a shower without soap, and just let the oil be the soap. And so you just wash it off, and then you just towel yourself off, and away you go. And it's like it forms like a protective barrier on your skin. And it feeds the microbiome that actually lives on the skin.
That's pretty cool. And that's from Dylan, isn't it? That Vital Veda.
Yeah, it's an Ayurvedic practice. Yeah.
Lovely. I might have to check it out. Anybody else at home, check it out.
Vital
Veda, isn't it?
Yeah, Vital Veda. Yeah.
Lovely. Yes, sweet, man. What? Circling back to what we were originally talking about. So your meditation courses and stuff that you're running. How do they consist of, and like what do people get when they come, and if they're coming to go to do one of your meditation courses?
Yeah, so at the moment we're doing the 3-day Learn to Meditate courses online, which is the 3 90-minute sessions or thereabouts. We learned the meditation technique. That's day 1. Day 2 is the mechanics of stress, and day 3 I teach the functions of the mind. And it's just to get people to learn how to practice this technique, which is a very simple but very powerful technique. And they understand what it does, how it works, and why we're doing it. And so we've got a complete understanding of what the meditation is. There's so many different types of meditation as well. That's an important thing to point out. There's so many, Vipassana, mindfulness, all these different things. This technique, I consider, a foundational technique. It is the deepest possible state our awareness can be in. And so instead of, we just go there. We just go to the deepest possible state. And the good thing about this technique is it allows us to resolve stress and fatigue from the body. So other meditations techniques can expand our awareness as well, but doesn't offer a way to resolve the underlying stress and fatigue, which this technique does. And that's why I love it so much. That's why I've been practicing a being technique for the last 6 years. And it constantly unfolds more and more deeper layers of myself. And I love it. And so the 3-day course will teach people how to practice this technique. And also I offer weekly group meditations online, which is a bonus, 40 plus classes a year for nothing, for free.
And it's great because it's like you get that on, like you said earlier on, and you get that online ongoing support from person who taught you the technique, and that way then you can, if anything comes up or something's come up throughout the week, you can have that discussion. I imagine that in your group meditations, you do you kind of theme them for your meditation, or like how would if I was to come along for one after being taught by you, what would I expect from a group then?
Yeah, so we go into themed talks. We talk about, I like to look at it, living from being. So how do we live from our deepest state of awareness and bring the best of ourselves into the world? How can we live from a place where we are aligning to our responsibility, to our potential, and to what we feel we should be doing in the world? Because ultimately, when we feel good, we're going to do good things. And so we're just living from that place of being. And it's not, like you said, it's not an overnight thing where you just decide, I'm going to do this and it's done. It's a process of learning to know yourself better and better. And so having that, a themed talk each week, different topic to speak on, and also an open questionnaire where people can just ask anything they want. And we just go into exploring and unpacking that.
And that's so good. It's like being able to have that resource there. That's where I think like a lot of other like apps and stuff, like you said originally, like the apps kind of, you can use them, but you generally you don't have someone who's trained in the technique or someone there to help you answer questions that might be coming up. So then you're like, well, this keeps coming up, like I'm not doing it right, blah blah blah. Like, but if you had someone there to just bounce the ideas off, and this is what's
Yeah,
happening, and I think I had it like an experience with being like, was this what, and then people can start to feel like, oh yeah, sweet, like I'm actually getting it, as opposed to kind of going, oh, I don't know, I can't do this, like blah blah blah. And I feel like, because we teach the same technique, and the people who have that regular support continue on with it, and they can see that change is continually happening, or is happening for them through their own meditation. And I feel like,
exactly. They can also see that there's other people going through the same process, and it makes it feel more normal,
yeah,
and they feel supported because they can talk to other people about what they're going through as well.
yeah, absolutely. And it's such a vital thing. And like I've spoken to a couple of people this week, and like kind of drawing back into the fitness and yoga side of things, it's like your body will only go as far as your mind will allow it. And it's like, regardless of whether you're trying to lose weight, put weight on, build muscle, or just get your next best yoga pose, it's like, until your mindset is there and your mind is free of distraction, and like you can observe where you are, like the body is just, it's being held back. So I think meditation, and especially this technique for myself, as I speak highly of it, is like it's allowed me just clarity, but also allow me to um, be in that state of awareness, and of knowing what is actually occurring, feeling what is actually occurring at that deeper level, rather than just being like at that surface level. It's always like that diver, that scuba diver, who's kind of just at the on the surface, and then eventually just dives down. You can feel what's happening, and then you come back up. And yeah, I think it's
Yeah,
such a great technique that you're teaching the people up there, and obviously online, because now it's opened up that way.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm going on a little tangent here now. I heard you're a rapper.
yeah. In a past life, I used to be an MC.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I won't throw you under the bus. I'm not going to try and make you freestyle, but if you did want to freestyle, feel free. But yeah, so that's like you, and so I'm guessing that's kind of like where that creative outlet. So you were talking before, like the creative side of things, and you were wanting to, and that's a great, like being able to rap and put like lyrics down that actually work together. That's such a great creative outlet, and I'm guessing that's why meditation has been like quite a big help with that eyes open experience.
Yeah, mate. It's been something. It's been actually quite a powerful part of my journey. I've had music in my life since I was about 16, or maybe even before that. I wrote a song like when I was maybe 12 or something on a two-string guitar, and I've always kind of felt called to let things come through and just make up silly songs or whatever. And so even at the and yeah, even before I started meditating, I was writing music and writing hip hop and writing acoustic songs and rock songs and all this kind of stuff. um, and yeah, and I feel like there's a special connection to that's beyond kind of the logical brain. We can access this deeper part of creativity, and yeah, music, poetry, rap has been a huge part of that. And so when I was initially looking to find creativity, I was having dreams of Hilltop Hood songs, but they were like fully formed, and they were like actual songs, but I never heard them before. And so I was trying to find them. And I can report back that after all these years of meditation, I still haven't found them. Um, uh, but yeah, man, there's something so kind of, for me, special with reflecting on the messages that I get through music, and a lot of it that's guided me through this experience. And I can't really explain what that means um, without sounding either crazy or whatever. But I know what it feels like, and it's a very connect. It feels like a connection to something much bigger than me. And so
It's kind of allows you
these
that.
messages, or
You go, keep going. Sorry.
yeah, like getting messages or guidance through the music has been a huge part of my journey, and probably kept me sane some of the times when I didn't understand what was happening, and I could reflect writing through songs, and it would be written there very clearly, what's going on, and it helped me a lot. So it's been really cool.
Yeah, it's an amazing kind of talent to be able to have, and like I found that even like I used to just journal write, and then I began writing poetry, and I'm like, I can't write poetry like this, and then writing poetry just allows me just to put those words into a more creative way of putting, rather than going, I'm feeling this today, blah 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 blah, putting it into a creative thing, and then you go, okay, cool. Like now, I've actually it's a outlet is there, and it's on that piece of paper, and you can read it back, and or you can sing it back if you wanted to,
Yeah,
and it's a great way. And I think like those little added extras that you do, like you have a look at like an artist who paints a picture, like there's a story behind it. There's a reason why they've painted that in that moment of time. That's what they were feeling, and that's I don't know, a surfer, like as a, surfing even as well. Like it's kind of, I think it's that flow state as well. It's like you're finding that flow in that movement and getting, it's an outlet, a creative outlet. And
yeah,
you watch a really good surfer on a wave. It's like a creative like expression of how they're feeling in that moment, and I think it's a great way. And whatever it is, it's that, yeah. I think flow state is probably a good way to probably um, how, like, do you feel like you access like a state of flow when you're writing, or is it just kind of bits and pieces here, there, and everywhere that eventually becomes like a bigger piece?
yeah. Because a lot of the times, if I'm writing, like a song, I will I'll record it as I write it. So I'll just sit down, and then I'll just record, the first couple of bars, and then I'll write another 4 bars and record, and as I go. And so I don't have an idea of what I'm making until it's finished,
Yeah,
and then I listen back to it, and sometimes it's great, sometimes it sucks, but but it's such an interesting process of just practicing getting out of the way, and allowing the creativity to flow through, and not judge it, and not try and make meaning of it, or try to create it to make it be something that I want other people to see me to be, if you know what I mean.
yeah,
um, like, I'm not writing this for someone else, I'm just writing it for the expression of what it is. And it's a really powerful practice, whether it's journaling or writing poetry, which I also love to do. And I love just playing with words and letting the words, syllables and alliteration and all this kind of stuff, and playing on words, and double entendres and double
yeah,
meanings and all this kind of stuff. I love it. And so but it's also because I'm not that smart with English. It's also it's really fun to watch how the intelligence that isn't me, that's working through me, knows the meaning of all the words. Like I'll write some shit down and I'll read it back, and I don't even know the meaning of that word, but then you Google it and it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, it's really cool because you just get out of the way and watch the creativity flow through you. And yeah.
I agree. I agree. Like creative writing and poetry and stuff at school, I would just do anything to run away from it. Like I wouldn't do it, and it's just like, and putting in like the like all those special on double entendres and automatopoeias and all those kinds of things. Like you start writing and you don't think, and especially when you take out, I'm not going to show this to anybody, this is what I'm writing. Or if you take that out of it and like let that insecurity disappear, I find it just allows that flow to flow a little bit more, because okay, cool, like I don't have to show this to anyone. It just sits in my book if I need to, or sits on my phone if I need to, just sits there. If I feel the call to then share it, then it's there. But yeah, I know the feeling with the words that you just start sprouting out and you're like, yeah, I'll have a look at that, and then come back to it and you go, yeah, I actually was right. But
yeah, makes sense.
It's good.
Yeah.
We might round it up there. Where can everybody meet you, see you, catch up with you, or like touch base?
Yeah, so mostly Spiritual Tradie on Instagram, spiritual_tradie. And I also have the podcast, which is spiritualtradie.com, or you can find it on iTunes, Spiritual Tradie Podcast, where I speak with all the healers, teachers and business people that have had a spiritual experience, and everyone has a journey and a cool story to tell. And I podcasted with you last week, and that's up there on Spiritual Tradie. Actually, it's my most successful YouTube video yet, so it's firing. Yeah,
the tradies talking together.
That's right. So yeah,
you also have another podcast.
Yes.
Can we before we finish,
can we talk about it?
What's the other podcast there? That's like, I know the Spiritual Tradie one is a great one, but then you've got another podcast. It's a little
kind of underground,
satirical underground one.
It's underground. Yeah, it's called Solo, SOUL/O, and it's I don't know how long it's going to last for, because it's probably infringing on copyright. So so I'm reading books basically, and it's probably not allowed. So you can check it out while it lasts, and if it's gone tomorrow, then you'll know why.
Oh man, I think they've got bigger things to worry about than you infringing on the bug of Vegeta.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Yeah.
All right. Thanks for your time, Dan. Thank you very much.
No worries, man. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. If you haven't yet, jump online to flowstatestudios.com. We have a vast variety of live and on-demand classes that will suit anybody's needs, from yoga, fitness, yin classes, box hit, and cardio classes throughout the week. You will get something that really works for you and your body. If you're a yogi who's gone too far into the flexibility range, our strength classes are for you. If you're looking for a little bit more spirituality and a yoga dive, we've got you covered as well. All for a low price of $19.95 per month US dollars. That's less than a cup of coffee for you to join up and get all our on-demand content, all our live classes, and also benefit from our one-on-one call, and then also all the options for reduced member rates for our trainings, retreats, and online courses that are to follow. Well, that brings us to the end of today's show. If you like what you heard and want to get all the info, check out the show notes. While you're there, rate and review the show. And one last thing, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the upcoming episodes. Until next time, my friends, continue to look out for each other and continue to lift each other up.